Your father and I have decided to sign over the house to Richard. He needs it more than you do. My mother's words hit me like a physical blow. I stood frozen in their kitchen, the same kitchen where I'd celebrated every birthday until I moved out. The same kitchen where my late father had taught me to make his famous Sunday pancakes, except Dad wasn't here anymore, and his widow was about to give away our family home to my stepbrother. My name is Emma Collins. I'm 32, work as a pediatric nurse, and until last week, I thought family meant something sacred. I was wrong. Dad died 14 months ago from heart failure. He'd been married to my stepmom, Diane, for nearly 20 years. They'd been happy, and I'd grown to love her like a second mother. Her son Richard came as part of the package. My stepbrother, 5 years older than me, always a bit distant, but civil enough. After Dad's funeral, I visited Mom and Diane regularly. I called them both Mom, had done since I was 12. Diane seemed to be coping well, considering. She had her church friends, her garden club, and of course, Richard checked in on her occasionally. Or so I thought. Richard has been such a comfort, Diane said, pouring me tea that Sunday afternoon. He comes by 3 times a week, helps with the yard work, takes me to my appointments. I nodded, feeling a twinge of guilt. With my nursing shifts, I only managed weekly visits. He's been talking about his living situation, she continued. His landlord is selling his building, and with housing prices these days, something in her tone made me uneasy. He suggested the most sensible solution. She smiled. I'm getting older, Emma. This house is too big for me alone. Richard says I could move into a nice senior apartment, and he would take over the house. I nearly choked on my tea. Take over? You mean buy it from you? Her smile faltered. Well, not exactly. He'd take care of me, of course. Make sure I'm comfortable. So he gets the house for free? My voice rose despite my efforts to stay calm. It's not like that, Emma. He needs it more than you do. You have your condo. My tiny one-bedroom that I'd scraped to afford on a nurse's salary. Meanwhile, Richard, who worked in consulting, whatever that meant, would get a 4-bedroom craftsman home in one of the city's best neighborhoods. Did Dad want this? I asked quietly. Your father would want me taken care of, she replied, not meeting my eyes. That night I couldn't sleep. Something felt wrong. Richard had never shown much interest in family matters before. Now, suddenly, he was the devoted son? And Diane. She'd always been fair, treating me like her own daughter. This didn't add up. The next morning, I called my childhood friend, Melissa, who happened to be a real estate agent. That house is worth at least $850,000 in today's market, she told me. Is your stepmom of sound mind? Because this sounds like elder manipulation. Her words sent a chill through me. Was Richard taking advantage of Diane's grief? I decided to pay a surprise visit that evening. As I pulled up to the house, I noticed Richard's sleek BMW in the driveway. Through the living room window, I could see him sitting with Diane, papers spread across the coffee table. I rang the doorbell, heart pounding. Richard answered, his smile dropping slightly when he saw me. Emma, wasn't expecting you today. Just thought I'd check on Mom, I said, stepping past him. Diane looked up, flustered. Emma, dear, we were just going over some paperwork. I glanced at the papers. Legal documents, property transfer forms. Are those for the house? I asked, keeping my voice steady. Richard smoothly gathered the papers. Just helping Diane get her affairs in order. Nothing to worry about. Shouldn't we discuss this as a family? I asked Diane directly. Richard answered instead. We've been over everything thoroughly. The decision's been made. By whom? I challenged. Emma, Diane said softly. Please understand. Richard needs stability, and I need less responsibility. It makes sense. What about Dad's wishes? I persisted. Did he want his home given away? Your father left everything to me, Diane said firmly. This is my decision. I left that night feeling sick. Something was very wrong, but I couldn't put my finger on it. Diane had always been kind, fair, and sharp as a tack. Now she seemed different. more confused, more dependent. On Richard. The next day, I called my brother Jake, who lived out of state. "You're overthinking this," he said. "Diane's getting older. The house is too much for her." "Then she should sell it and use the money for her care," I argued, "not just hand it over to Richard." "It's her house," Jake reminded me. "Her choice." But was it really her choice? I couldn't shake the feeling that Richard was manipulating her somehow. I decided to do something I never thought I'd do. I bought a small surveillance camera disguised as a picture frame. The next time I visited, I brought it as a gift, a photo of Dad and Diane from their anniversary 5 years ago. "For your bedside table," I told her, "so Dad's always watching over you." She teared up, hugged me. "You're so thoughtful, Emma, just like your father." I placed it where it had a view of most of the bedroom. I felt terrible, invasive, but I needed to know what was happening when I wasn't there. The camera connected to my phone. For 3 days, nothing unusual happened. Diane went about her routine. Richard visited, bringing groceries, helping with small tasks. Then, on the fourth day, I received an alert. Motion detected. I opened the app and watched as Richard entered Diane's bedroom. She was napping. He went to her purse, took out her pill case, the one with her heart medication, blood pressure pills, and vitamins, and then he switched some pills around. My blood ran cold. I zoomed in, trying to see what he was doing. But the angle wasn't perfect. What I could see clearly was him removing pills from one compartment and replacing them with different ones from a small container he took from his pocket. He then returned the pill case to her purse and left the room. I sat frozen, staring at my phone. Was he drugging her? Is that why she seemed confused, more pliable? I needed more evidence. I couldn't accuse my stepbrother of something so serious without being certain. The next day, I called in sick to work and parked down the street from the house. Sure enough, Richard's car pulled up around 10 a.m. I watched him enter with his own key. Through the app, I saw him go straight to Diane's room again. This time, she was in the kitchen. He went to her nightstand, opened the drawer, and took out what looked like Dad's will. He photographed several pages with his phone, then replaced it. Next, he went to her bathroom, opened the medicine cabinet, and swapped what looked like her sleep medication with identical-looking pills from his pocket. I felt sick. This was really happening. My stepbrother was systematically drugging my stepmom and manipulating her into signing over her home. I needed professional help. I called my friend Tara, a geriatric social worker. "If what you're saying is true, this is elder abuse," she said gravely. "You need to contact Adult Protective Services. But Emma, you need solid evidence." "I have videos," I told her. "That's a start, but you need medical proof that she's being drugged." I thought quickly. What if I take some of her pills for testing? That could work, but be careful. If he's doing this, he's dangerous. That night, I made an emergency visit, claiming I'd left my work badge last time I visited. "I'll just check the guest room," I told Diane, who seemed groggier than usual. While searching, I slipped into her bathroom and pocketed 2 pills from her sleep medication bottle, replacing them with identical-looking over-the-counter pills I'd brought. The next day, I took them to a lab technician friend who owed me a favor. "I can't do a full analysis," he warned, "but I can tell you if it's what the label says it is." 2 days later, he called me. "Emma, these aren't sleep aids. They contain a sedative much stronger than what would be prescribed for normal insomnia. There's also traces of a mild hallucinogenic. Someone taking these regularly would be confused, suggestible, and have memory issues." My hands shook as I hung up. It was worse than I'd imagined. That evening, Diane called me, sounding distressed. "Emma, Richard says we're signing the house papers tomorrow. I'm not sure anymore. Your father—" She trailed off, sounding confused. "Mom, listen to me," I said urgently. "Don't sign anything. I'm coming over right now." No, she said quickly. "Richard says it's best if it's just us. Legal matters, you know." "Mom, please." I have to go, dear. Richard is here. The line went dead. I immediately called Adult Protective Services, but it was after hours. Their emergency line took my information, but said they couldn't intervene without more evidence. I was on my own. I drove to the house, heart racing. Richard's car was there. I didn't ring the bell. I still had my key. I entered quietly, hearing voices from the living room. "Just sign here, Diane," Richard was saying. "Then everything will be taken care of." I pulled out my phone, opened my camera app, and walked into the room. "Stop," I said firmly. They both looked up, startled. "Emma!" Diane exclaimed. "I didn't hear you come in." Richard's face darkened. "This doesn't concern you." "It absolutely does." I turned to Diane. "Mom, Richard has been drugging you." Richard laughed, but it sounded forced. "That's ridiculous. Diane, your stepdaughter has always been jealous of our relationship." Diane looked confused. "Drugging me? Emma, what are you talking about?" "He's been switching your medications. That's why you've been feeling confused, why you can't remember conversations clearly." "Don't listen to her," Richard said smoothly. "She's upset about the house. Always thought she'd inherit it." I pulled out my phone. "I have proof." I showed them the videos. Richard entering her room, swapping pills, photographing Dad's will. Diane's face went pale. "Richard? What is this?" "It's not what it looks like," he stammered. "I was organizing your medications." "By replacing them with sedatives and hallucinogens?" I challenged. "I had your pills tested." Richard's face contorted with rage. He lunged for my phone. "Give me that!" I stepped back, keeping the phone out of reach. "I've already backed up the videos and sent copies to my lawyer." That was a lie, but it worked. Richard froze. "Why?" Diane asked, her voice breaking. "Why would you do this?" Richard's composure cracked. "Because I deserve something. 20 years I've been part of this family, and what do I get? Nothing. Your precious Emma was always first in line. Dad's little girl." I was shocked by the bitterness in his voice. "He was my father too," Richard shouted. "But his will left everything to you with the hope you'd be fair to both of us. I knew what that meant. Emma gets half of everything eventually, while I get whatever scraps you decide to throw my way." Diane was crying now. "I would have been fair, Richard. You didn't have to do this." "Fair?" he scoffed. "Like how Dad was fair? He paid for Emma's college but told me to take out loans for mine. He helped her with the down payment on her condo, but said I needed to learn financial responsibility. I hadn't known any of this. Dad had always seemed to treat us equally." "So you decided to drug your mother and steal her house?" I asked, disgusted. "She's not my mother," he spat. "And it would have worked if you hadn't interfered." I called 911. While we waited for the police, Diane sat silently, tears streaming down her face. Richard paced, occasionally trying to justify his actions, then threatening legal action against me for the surveillance. The police arrived with paramedics. They took statements and collected the medication as evidence. Diane was taken to the hospital for evaluation and treatment. Richard was arrested for elder abuse and attempted fraud. In the aftermath, Diane was diagnosed with mild cognitive impairment, worsened by the medications Richard had been giving her. With proper treatment, much of her confusion cleared, though the doctors warned some damage might be permanent. "I can't believe he would do this," she told me in the hospital, her eyes clearer than they'd been in months. "I trusted him completely." "He took advantage of that trust," I said gently, "and your grief." She squeezed my hand. "Thank you for saving me, Emma. Your father would be so proud." Richard eventually pled guilty to reduced charges, elder abuse and illegal administration of controlled substances. He received 5 years probation and was ordered to stay away from Diane. As for the house, Diane decided to sell it after all. "Too many memories now," she said, "both good and bad." She moved into a lovely senior community near my condo. With the proceeds from the house sale, she's set for life. Comfortable, independent, and most importantly, safe. I visit her 3 times a week. We cook together, watch her favorite game shows, and sometimes just sit in comfortable silence. Occasionally, she talks about Dad, remembering their life together with a clarity that was absent during those terrible months. Your father always said you had his intuition, she told me recently, that inner voice that tells you when something's not right. I nodded, thinking of that first conversation that had set off alarm bells in my mind. I should have listened to mine, she continued. Something felt wrong about Richard's sudden devotion, but I wanted so badly to believe he cared. We all want to believe the best about family, I said. She took my hand. Family isn't always blood, Emma. It's the people who would never dream of hurting you for their own gain. People like you. Last week, we visited Dad's grave together. As we placed fresh flowers, Diane told me she'd updated her will. I've left half to you and half to charity, she said. Richard was right about one thing. Your father did hope I'd be fair to both of you. But fairness isn't about equal shares. It's about what people deserve. I hugged her, this woman who had loved my father and raised me with kindness. I just wish I'd seen Richard's true nature sooner, she sighed. You saw what you wanted to see, I told her. We all do that sometimes. As we walked back to the car, Diane stopped suddenly. You know what your father would say right now? I smiled. What? Trust your gut, kid. It'll never steer you wrong. She was right. Dad had always said that. And when something had felt wrong about Richard's sudden interest in Diane's welfare, I'd listened to that inner voice. That voice had saved our family. What was left of it, anyway. And that was enough.